So this may seem like an innocuous water bottle, but back in between modules, and I had pointed out to the students that the water that is provided by the school should not be abandoned, and I picked up this particular water bottle because it was abandoned and showed it to the class, and it's still abandoned. So this gives us a chance to talk about a concept that we'll touch on in the Osteopathic podcast purposefully. Some of the challenges with freedom. With freedom, you require that people actually engage in their own best interest. And when you're engaging in things that are in your own best interest, you're also considering that if you make life challenging for others, it's not in your own best interest. Some other very small, trivial things. Students generally do a great job contributing to cleaning, but now it happens to be my responsibility to make sure the place is clean. So we've got an unemptied garbage. Luckily, tomorrow's garbage day, so I can take care of that. And then I did give one person permission to leave some stuff in the fridge, right? And that's down there. Then we have some knickknacks and interesting things where if I don't take them out, they may rot. So once again, the mundane things that the students usually do a fantastic job with, I've got to take care of because I'm trying to be responsible. A couple days after I shot the previous orphaned water bottle, I got to clean in the lunchroom and recognized that I had missed a completely separate orphaned bottle of water. So hopefully as this goes up, I'm starting to make my message a little bit more clearer to the students. So whoever you are that's viewing this one's actually a mundane thing that I'm sharing, but it's aimed at the students so that they know that this is a real thing. Some more mundane stuff about ideas and where I get those ideas and how they will then inform the curriculum or even inform the content that I put out on YouTube. I was listening to Dr. Lisa Feldman-Barrett talking, and she talked about a recent study that her lab put out, and this is the study, 7 Tesla Evidence for Columnar Rostral Caudal Organization of the Human Periaqueductal Gray Response in Absence of Threat, a Working Memory Study. So, big, long, nerdy title that gives me the opportunity to make a prediction of if and when the cranial osteopathic world gets a hold of this, how they might screw up the interpretation of this. So if you run around and watch the Osteopathic podcast, you'll find me talking about this there. So again, another spot where the ideas are coming from. I was listening to a conversation from Dr. Gad Saad, who I actually had the opportunity to meet many, many years ago, briefly in Atlanta, because I was helping someone who was attending the conference. Anyways, that's kind of a side story. But this one, I heard him talking about this in the paper, so I looked up the paper that he was talking about, using the evolutionary theory to enhance brain imaging paradigm. And there's a concept in here that will help explain some things. So I talk about overfitting and overinterpreting. Where the heck is it? There we go. So I'm going to try to zoom in on this. See if we can do this. So the concept here, I'm going to do it. No, it won't give it to me. So I'll zoom back out. Anyways, there's this concept of the illusion of explanatory depth, right? So I'll pull back from that and I will, yeah, there we go. That hits it better. The fear is probably unwarranted and stems from what Rosenblatt and Kiel 2002 describe as the illusion of explanatory depth, namely to exhibit overconfidence in one's ability to offer veridical explanations about natural phenomena when one's true knowledge is tentative at best. Neuroimaging scholars are especially susceptible to such biases. The striking, colorful brain photos associated technical jargon have a persuasive effect on researchers and laypersons alike. So the basic idea here is if you present something sexy with sexy pictures, so let's just say you have the exact same text side by side, but one of them has sexy pictures, you'll think the one with sexy pictures is more powerful or a better explanation. So that gives me initial insight into something that messes with me a little bit, why people really like things that look nice, even if they're of low usefulness or low quality. That's a personal challenge. I understand that it's a real phenomenon, but as a personal challenge, this actually gives me the opportunity to explore and learn more about it, and also see how that might impact how I present things to students and the world, even though my rebellious nature might give me some trouble here. Another piece of mundane stuff. I don't consider it mundane, but maybe others would. Another piece of mundane stuff in between modules and when not teaching is reading and editing students' thesis projects. So I'm always essentially co-editing and co-writing because if I'm the thesis supervisor, it's my job. So we go from the paper that I was speaking about from Gad's side to the original paper that comes up, or not comes up, that proposes the term of the misunderstood limits of folk science, an illusion of explanatory depth. So the paper and the term being the illusion of explanatory depth. Get to that abstract, see some things so that we understand a little bit better where it comes from. The abstract here, people feel they understand a complex phenomenon with far greater precision, coherence, and depth than they really do. They are subject to an illusion of explanatory depth. The illusion is stronger for explanatory knowledge than many other kinds of knowledge, and I'm messing up my reading here. Let me read this a little bit better. The illusion is far stronger for explanatory knowledge than many other kinds of knowledge, such as that for facts, procedures, or narratives. The illusion of explanatory knowledge is most robust where the environment supports real-time explanations with visible mechanisms. So we run into this to try to explain it more. Now, if we look the term up, illusion of explanatory depth, right? So you'll see in the search there, the illusion of explanatory depth, we look that up. We get the good old Google AI overview, and that says the illusion of explanatory depth is a cognitive bias that causes people to overestimate their understanding of a topic. It can occur when people rely on external sources of information instead of using their own knowledge. Now, the moment I see cognitive bias, it makes me go back to my general definition of cognitive bias, which is a mistaken thinking that people don't know they're making. So that lets me engage my general semantic network so that I can start to try to understand that better. Scroll down, looking at different things. I looked at this one, the illusion of explanatory depth from the Decision Lab, the misunderstood limits of folk science. That's the original paper. And then another one, explaining an unrelated phenomenon exposes the illusion of explanatory depth. So that's people figuring out that they know less than they think they do by explaining something else. And then I get to this one down here, why psychologists are wrong about the illusion of ... explanatory depth. What I want to say is that because this is falling into cognitive bias research, aka a mistaken thinking that somebody doesn't know they're making, my general prediction is that the explanations are going to be an inappropriate amount of knowledge. You just don't know enough. So you know a little bit about it, and you get that overestimation. You think you understand it. You know, the good old crossover with you don't know what you don't know. So unconscious incompetence versus conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and then unconscious competence, like that Foursquare kind of deal. There's a lot of phenomenon that will actually overlap, and they all seem to be best explained by you just don't know enough about a thing, and you don't know that how little you know. So you're more in the unconscious incompetence despite knowing information. Again, it hits cognitive bias stuff, so it's usually mistaken thinking that people don't know they're making. That goes ahead and explains the illusion of explanatory depth relatively well, as far as I can tell. So to go back into the article and see what they're saying about the explanations. So to read, if we are to put simply the arguments for the illusion of explanatory depth, it would be that we really know only when we know in detail, and being able to articulate what we know or think we know is a way of telling if we actually know in detail. Of course, knowing in detail is your best bet if you want to possess an understanding that is more than what the average person has, especially since some people, though loud, are ignorant of a topic. But using the ability to articulate is a way of telling if you know in detail isn't a good one. Yeah, so it seems knowledge-based, whatever.